Maple syrup. The best thing to go on pancakes.
Sweet, flavorful, and so delicious.
But maple syrup doesn't just appear at the store. Had you ever wondered where it does come from? Let's go find out.
Hey everyone, my name is Maisie, and this is my sister Mira. We are on a mission to learn all about the natural world and how to take care of it. Come along with us, it's going to be fun.
So maple syrup doesn't just appear. Where does it actually come from? I'm going to give you some hints. Hint number 1. It was first made 400 years ago. Hint number 2. The place where it comes from is really big. Hint number 3. There's a lot of animals there. Did you figure it out yet?
I bet you did. This is where maple syrup comes from.
That's right, maple syrup comes from the forest.
Maple syrup is made from the sap of trees. Maple trees, to be exact. Sap is the fluid that trees use to move nutrients around. And one of those nutrients is sugar. And it's that sugar that turns into maple syrup. So how do the farmers get the sap out of the trees? To answer that question, we have to go back to the early spring. And we have to find some maple trees. When it's winter, maple trees go dormant. That pretty much means they sleep. And when they sleep, they store their sap underground in their roots so that it doesn't freeze. But in the spring, when the days are warm, but the nights are still cold, the trees wake up and the sap comes back up into the branches. That's when we could collect it. And we do that using taps and buckets. Here's a bucket. And it has sap in it too.
Alright, we found a maple tree with a bucket. But how does the sap get out of the tree and into the bucket? Let's find out by looking inside a maple tree.
There's lots of layers in a tree. There's the bark on the outside. And then on the inside, that's where the sap flows. This little tap right here. This goes into the sapwood, so the sap can come out. Inside, it looks like this. The farmers hang the bucket from the tap, and the sap drips into the bucket. When the bucket's full, they come and collect it. So in the early spring, the maple syrup farmers put the taps in the trees, right when the trees are starting to wake up. And the sap drips out of the tree and into the bucket. I see the sap do that thing.
But the sap is flowing in the trees all summer. But why can syrup only made in the spring?
First off, it's the temperature that makes the sap flow. When the nights are freezing, the roots of the tree pull in water. Then when it warms up during the day, it makes the sap flow up. And that's where the buckets can collect it.
And the other reason, once the trees has the buds in them, the sap changes flavor. It turns bitter, and it doesn't make good syrup anymore. So why does the sap turn bitter? That's because the tree is using the sugar to make leaves and flowers. And then those flowers turn into seed, which grows into new maples.
This is a baby maple tree.
those seeds are really cool.
These are maple seeds. You see how it looks like it has wings? That's because maple seeds can fly. When the wind blows, it catches those wings, and maple seeds start to spin, kind of like a helicopter. And that's how it flies. On a really windy day, a maple seed can fly more than a mile. That's really far for a tiny seed. But that's good for us, because it means more maple syrup. Chasing maple seeds is so much fun. And searching for buckets in the early spring, that's fun too. But before you head out into the woods to find some,
I should probably warn you. Warm days and cold nights don't just make the sap flow. It also makes mud. Lots and lots and lots of wonderful mud. I love mud. So, wear some mud boots. Now back on track.
so we know when to collect sap and why, and we also know how. But sap isn't syrup. It does taste sweet, but it's very watery. Nothing like the maple syrup we know. So how does it go from being sap to syrup? To figure that out, let's go to the kitchen.
So to figure out how to make maple syrup, we're going to make simple syrup. It's not the same, but it's made the same way. So let's do it. To make simple syrup, we need half a cup of brown sugar and 1 cup of water. Go, Mila, pour. Okay, let me mix it. Wow, kind. Tastes good. Once that's all mixed, we're going to put it on the stove. And then we're going to simmer it until it turns into syrup. It's steaming now. All that steam is water.
You see this dry mason jar? Watch what happens when I put over the steam.
Do you see it's getting foggy? It's foggy now.
That's all water simmering away. The water steams out, and the sap gets thicker and thicker until it turns into syrup.
They make maple syrup the same way, except they have really, really big boilers. The sap is cooked and boiled into syrup. That's how maple syrup is made.
Syrup makers, they can actually change the color and the flavor of maple syrup, just by boiling it longer or shorter. The longer it boils, the darker it gets, and the stronger the flavor is. And that's how it's done.
But before we go, how about a few other fun facts about maple trees? Fact number 1.
Maple trees have to be at least 12 inches before they can be tapped. And the really big ones, they can have more than 1 bucket. This one has 2.
Fact number 2. Maple trees live for 300 years. That's a long time! And some of those trees have been tapped for syrup for over 100 years. That's older than your grandma. Fact number 3.
Most maples will give between 10 and 20 gallons of sap every year. But remember, it takes 40 gallons to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. That means it takes 2 to 4 trees to make 1 gallon of syrup.
Fact number 4. Most maple syrup is made in the northeastern Canada. Vermont is the biggest producer in the U.S. and Canada is the biggest in the world. Fact number 5.
There's actually 13 species of maples in North America, but only a few of them has good syrup sap, and a sugar maple is the best one.
Maples aren't the only tree you can make syrup from. Birch, pine, and black walnut work too, but maples taste the best.
So now we know all about maple syrup. Find it, collect it, boil it, and that's how it's done. Thanks for coming on this adventure with us. If you like this show, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Until next time, bye! Bye!